What's going on, my fellow degenerates? Passion here once again with another video with some Overwatch 2 gameplay. So today we are going to be doing our usual end of the season, season 17 retrospective. So if you've never seen one of these, how these usually go is I'm going to go through several different categories, give each one a school grade rating, and at the end we're going to kind of combine all of them and give you an overall kind of rating for the season. And my concluding thoughts on it. So, starting out as we always do, let's start with the theming. So, this season was called Powered Up and had a very kind of old school arcadey vibe to it across all the battle pass, and even one of the limited time game modes tied into that main theme as well. There was also a secondary theme this season, which seems to be a trend since the past couple of seasons. And this secondary theme was the Overwatch Academy, and that envisioned a lot of the heroes as either professors or students at a fictitious kind of Overwatch-themed private school. I do feel like the concept of both of these themes were decently strong, if a little bit random on the Overwatch Academy side, given that they picked a school theme for a season where literally a majority of the US is not in school and not headed back to school anytime soon. So that was a little bit weird, but while I think a video game season is fine in concept, the fact that it was themed around old school arcades and like retro consoles, it didn't really hit home for me that much because I don't really have that strong of a nostalgia for arcades as many people maybe in their 40s or 50s might. So that was kind of a little bit lost on me. I do have some fond memories of arcades for sure, but not the retro games that this theme was like clearly paying homage to. So for all that, I'm going to give the theming a rating of a B. Moving on to the Battle Pass. So the Battle Pass this season was really all over the place, and I only really liked about half of what it had to offer. Most of the best stuff not even really being the skins, but actually being a lot of like the supplemental rewards that we got, such as the Sombra highlight intro that like riffs on the Brent Rambo meme, or the Academy Seal weapon charm from Overwatch Academy. Like those were baller, but most of these skins, even the ones that I did like, such as the Professor Fox, Liquid Cassidy, and 8-Bit Sombra, I don't really see myself using those long term, and will probably change them out fairly soon. As a matter of fact, I've already kind of grown tired of the Cass and Sombra skins as I write this. And have since swapped off of them. So the only ones that might stick with me from this season are the 8-Bit Orisa and the 8-Bit Zenyatta, as they are currently some of their best skins in the game, which is funny because those are only epic skins and they're cooler than most of the legendaries we got this season. But I imagine a lot of these cosmetics will swiftly go forgotten in my hero gallery. I do have to say though, and once again I am delighted to say, that the Ultimate Battle Pass this season was an absolute banger, just like last season, because this season we got the Professor DeKoipa skin for Sigma, which is hands down his best skin in the game now, and the Principal Lacroix Widowmaker skin is just hot as all hell. Super mommy vibes with that one. I love both of these skins a lot. We'll be getting a lot of use out of them. They're great. But then we unfortunately have to go back to the negative criticism because the Diva Mythic Horang skin that we got this season has been the first Mythic that I have not cared to purchase, like, at all. Not a single tier of it felt really worth it to me apart from the Gilded version, which in that case I might as well just buy like the 100 Mythic Prisms and get it all at once instead of just grinding for 2 seasons to get just like a mediocre Mythic skin that I don't really care about when I can buy other cooler Mythic content with the 80 Prisms you do get in the season right now, which is what I did. I ended up buying the Season 15 Mythic weapon for Widowmaker instead. And I don't actually have it in my notes here, but I'm just remembering it now as I talk about it. For the first time ever, we got a dual Mythic drop on launch. So normally we would get the Mythic weapon at mid-season, and you know, get the Mythic skin at the start of the season. This time we got them both at the start of the season, and the Mythic skin, Mythic weapon skin this season was for Reaper. And while I do really like his Mythic weapon, I think it fits him really well, just like, you know, Widows did back in Season 15. I just didn't care enough to buy it this season. I kind of had my eyes more set on that Mythic Widowmaker weapon. instead. So I probably will get it eventually. I did think it was very cool, but not cool enough for me to drop $40 on to get the ultimate, you know, Reaper Mythic Weapon bundle. So while the Ultimate Battle Pass was great, and the regular Battle Pass did offer some fun things, it's really not enough to save this season in the cosmetic department. That's why I'm giving it a rating of a C. So moving on to the limited time events and collabs, my favorite section. So starting out, just a couple weeks into the season, we got the Overwatch 2 Cross G.I. Joe collab. And I gotta be honest, in the nearly 11 months that I've been playing this game again, this has got to be one of the least interesting collabs they have ever done. I mean, obviously I got the Baroness Widowmaker because it was hot, but like, I have no emotional attachment to G.I. Joe. I feel like, much like the retro gaming theme for the season, this collab was aimed at a much older target demographic who maybe grew up watching G.I. Joe on TV back in like the 80s, and I feel like it was kind of out of touch with the actual demographic that plays Overwatch 2. However, it seems like even actual G.I. Joe fans were disappointed with this collab too, as they seem to have skipped out on at least a couple of like no-brainer possibilities, including, you know, Joe from G.I. Joe. We could have easily gotten a skin for Soldier or someone that could have been of Joseph Colton, and a few other notable characters that they kind of really passed up on for the G.I. Joe collab. But we did get the Baroness Widowmaker, as I said, as well as the Snake Eyes Genji, Scarlet Freya, Cobra Commander Reaper, and Destro Doomfist. And I will say the skins themselves look like the characters, I guess. Again, I'm not super familiar with it, but they look like characters. And some of them, like the Widow, Genji, and Doomfist skins, were fairly cool-looking skins in their own right, just even without the IP. But because I have no emotional investment in that IP, this collab kind of fell flat for me. Then we got the limited time game mode that was tied into the theme of the season, that being hacks and hijinks. It essentially revolved around the concept of hacking a bunch of control maps in 6v6 to give the heroes randomly rotating buffs each round, such as invisibility while crouching, or increased damage received in doubt while in the air. And I'm not gonna lie, I did not like this game mode at all. 6v6 to me, in general, is just not as fun as 5v5, and even many of the modifiers just felt kind of useless. Not only that, but many players, including myself, were reporting that some of the advertised modifiers from the patch notes just never showed up in their games. They never got them, such as the one that made all the heroes tiny. There was supposed to be one that like shrank all the heroes down and made them super tiny. Nobody got that. I didn't see any gameplay footage of it. Nobody said that they got it. Everybody was saying, well, I saw this in the patch notes, but I've never gotten a game with it. Where is it? I don't know if it was a bug or just never got fully implemented or what, but the whole thing did feel very kind of half-assed. The mode really wasn't even worth grinding beyond the 9 games required for the Epic Loot Box, because there was really no other interesting incentives to play it. Most of the rewards were just Battle Pass XP, which is wasted on me when I've already completed the Battle Pass, and I'm just going for the Prestige tiers at that point. Even if this mode comes back for the anniversary event later this year, I don't see myself returning to it without some really sick rewards attached to it. Just like last season, we did get a second collab this season in the second half, and that being of another Hasbro-owned brand, Nerf. So when the Nerf collab was being hinted at the start of the season, I was a bit skeptical on how cool that would actually be. I never actually owned any Nerf weapons myself growing up, so once again, it's a brand I don't really have a very strong connection to. But as speculation started to rise about it potentially being a weapon skin collab, I became more intrigued, because apart from mythic weapons and competitive weapons, there really aren't that many options for weapon skins in game. So I was cautiously optimistic for this collab. Even after it was officially announced and confirmed to be a weapon skin collab, with an extra hero skin for Cass thrown in as well. But once I saw them all in game and got to see how they all work, and more importantly how they all sounded, I was sold. All of them look and sound like actual Nerf toy guns, and the team did a great job bringing the brand to life. We got the aforementioned Cassidy hero skin that makes him look, well, I'll be honest, kind of goofy, like he's a 40-year-old man pretending to be a 12-year-old boy from a Nerf commercial. But honestly, the skin has grown on me in the time that this Nerf collab's been out. We also got Nerf guns for Soldier, Baptiste, Nerf Shurikens and a Nerf Bat for Genji, a Super Soaker for Mei, I mean that's a no-brainer, and actually a free Nerf weapon skin for Tracer, which I think was really important to include in this collab, where you're trying to convince people, you know, to buy this new weapon skin collab, because we never really had a weapon skin collab before. So to give one away for free kind of helps encourage more of that, you know, that goodwill with the community. I love all the weapon skins. I think Cass is actually my favorite, because for some reason the change in sound has actually helped me aim better on Cass. I don't understand why. Unfortunately, at launch, the only way to use the Cass Nerf weapon was to actually have the hero skin equipped, but recently Blizzard did announce that they are planning to, in the future, make the Nerf weapon, Cass's Nerf weapon, its own separate weapon skin that you can equip with other skins if you already own Cass's Nerf skin as well. So that's a huge W, and I don't have it here in my notes, but this Nerf collab also came with a special game mode, which is something that, you know, we haven't seen since, I think, Le Seraphim back in 2023, in terms of like an actual game mode for a collab. And it was called Nerf, I believe it's called Nerf or Nothing. Yeah, and it was essentially like gun game, right? I know we've had gun game in Overwatch before, but essentially, yeah, it was gun game with also a little bit of a thing where if you died too many times, like if you die like 3 times in a row, you would just automatically switch heroes anyway. I actually really did like the Nerf mode. It was very, very fun. Obviously, you had all the Nerf skins on by default, even if whether you owned them or not. You got to play around with the Nerf skins in that mode. I did end up buying the full Mega Bundle for the Nerf collab. It was really good. It really surprised me on how good this Nerf collab was. So yeah, huge win for Blizzard on that. And I hope we get more weapon skin collabs in the future, because this was really cool. Junkrat's loot box hunt did return this season as well. Also there was also a new minor LTE called Better Together, which encouraged grouping with your friends to earn loot boxes. And again, I won't be judging these based off the stuff that I pulled in those loot boxes, but rather praising them for the fact that we did in fact get more loot boxes. I love loot boxes. I've said this time and time again. So anytime we get LTEs that bring in more opportunity to get loot boxes, I'm all for it. Overall, most of the magic of these LTEs and collabs came in the second half of the season, and the first half was just kind of a dud for me. So I'm going to give the limited time events and collabs a rating of a C. Moving on to new and reworked heroes. Now this section is going to be fairly quick because there really wasn't any major hero tweaks this season. We are getting a new support hero in Season 18 called Wu Yang, and he did have a hero trial this season, but I don't feel like it's fair to really include hero trials as part of the content of a season, because these heroes are going to get their own major time in the spotlight when they actually, you know, launch in their respective seasons. So we can judge them then based on how they permanently fit into the game, but I don't think it's fair to, like, judge them here in their trial season. Since there's really nothing here to rank, I feel like it's kind of a bit unfair to give it a failing grade that drags down the overall score, because the failing grade would be more for like, oh, they released something and it's garbage, right? So the fact that they didn't really like have anything big here for this, I'm just gonna not rate this, and we'll move on. This gets a rating of NA, just not even applicable. Moving on to the next section, which is Stadium updates. So we saw a lot of new updates to Stadium this season, including the introduction of 2 new maps and 3 new heroes. Those 2 maps being the Volcano Point of Samoa as a control map, and a shortened version of Esperanza as a push map. Obviously, these maps look close to identical to their base game counterparts, but the extra flourishes they added, like such as the stadium billboards, right, and even the retouched spawn areas of Esperanza, they really make them feel like all new maps, even though they technically aren't. And I've enjoyed playing on them quite a bit when I do play Stadium. Also, as seems to be the plan moving forward with Stadium, we got 1 hero of each role added this season. For tank, we had Sigma added, and this has been my go-to pick when playing Stadium these days, as his weapon power build that I came up with goes insanely hard and is so satisfying to play. Granted, they don't have a Zarya. If they have a Zarya, I'm kind of screwed. But but when they don't have a Zarya, it's great. For DPS, we got Junkrat, who historically has kind of always been really annoying to deal with in the core game mode. So people were concerned about his oppressiveness being cranked up to 11 when he came to Stadium. But honestly, he's been the least oppressive out of all the new heroes, in my opinion. And he's still fairly strong, and I feel like his powers and abilities are still fun, and give him a big buff, but they don't actually make him too insane to handle, right? It seems like he's in a fairly balanced state in Stadium, even when they do crank up his abilities and stuff to 11. So yeah, Junkrat's fine, but the scariest addition, in my opinion, has to be Zenyatta as our new support hero in Stadium, and because Zen has some builds that basically makes him a virtually unkillable DPS-like machine. and you can just easily like 2-tap somebody from like across the map as Zenyatta. It's insane. So yeah, they're all these heroes have been incredibly fun to play. Sig has been my favorite, but I think that in terms of like, you know, power level, I think Zenyatta has probably got that unlocked. Not only did we get the 2 new maps and 3 heroes, we also got the addition of Stadium Forge, which lets you craft, save, name, and share builds for any hero from either the Stadium practice range, your own build in match, or even an ally or enemy's build from within the match. This has been such a godsend for content creators and people addicted to Stadium, because I know there's like a huge majority of the player base now who just literally only plays Stadium. That's the only thing they experience with Overwatch these days. But it's also like led to the creation of fan sites like Stadium Builds.io, which kind of reminds me of the fan sites that used to come back in the come out in the day back in Overwatch 1, stuff like Overbuff, you know, and stuff like that. So overall, Stadium's new additions, they really shine this season. They did have to unfortunately pull out of their promise to bring unranked Stadium as well as Pharah to the roster this season, but we have been confirmed to be getting those next season, along with Tracer, I believe, coming to Stadium in mid-season of next season. So look forward to that, I guess. So for overall the Stadium updates, I'm going to give them a rating of an A. Moving on to map updates, we got a lot to talk about here because we got a brand new Flashpoint map this season called Aatlis, set in the country of Morocco. And this has kind of been the culmination of all of the feedback they've been receiving on New Junk City and Saravasa over the past 2 years. And honestly, it's my favorite map of the mode now. The big core design philosophy shift that they made with Aatlis was that each of the points needed to feel like visually unique and distinct. And they do. It features a futuristic train station clashing with like a historic Arabic market, an old town square, a lush botanical science center, and a luxurious hotel. It really makes each point feel like a mini-map in its own right, and the navigation between them has been really significantly improved. Not only are the sightlines between points better, but the new Flashpoint spawn system makes it so once the center point is capped, right, and you have one of the outer points picked at random, and following that point's capture, only one of the 2 points adjacent to that point can be selected as the next Flashpoint location. So it's no longer going to be you pick you get the center point done, it picks a point on the map as your next spawn point, then you cap that, and then your third Flashpoint is all the way on the other hell side of the map. Not going to happen anymore. It's only going to be adjacent to that last point that you captured, following that capture of the first initial point. So this makes the whole mode way less of a walking simulator and gets you to the fight much quicker, so I'm happy for that. Aatlis looks beautiful, gives me a lot of the same vibes that Oasis did when it came out in Overwatch 1, so I think it's a great addition to the game. But Blizzard didn't just stop there this season with the map updates. Not only did they give us the brand new map built with all that feedback from New Junk City and Saravasa, but at mid-season we also got reworks of New Junk City and Saravasa that also built upon that previous Flashpoint feedback. So, much like Aatlis, they tried to make the points all feel visually unique and streamline the available angles and sightlines to take any given fight. The forward spawns were also changed to be placed a little bit higher up, with spawns closer to the edge. It's a small little change, but it does add up to shave valuable seconds off your walking time back to the point. While I do think that Aatlis did a much better job at diversifying the look and feel of each point, the changes made to Saravasa, and especially to New Junk City, certainly feel a lot better to play on in these iterations compared to their old ones. Though I have noticed players struggling to relearn these reworked maps, and they still tend to stick to the old pathways they're used to, even when there are newer, more optimal paths that now exist. Like especially for the center point on New Junk City, they opened up pretty much a beeline straight through to the point where you don't have to come in on the sides anymore. And I still see people coming through on the sides. So hopefully maybe in time, as players kind of explore the map and learn about it more and play it more, they'll get better at like using these new pathways and stuff. But overall, I think that the map changes this season, including the new map, the 2 reworks, were really, really great. I'm going to give it a rating of an A. Moving on to quality of life improvements, we got a lot of these this season as well. So starting out, we got one of the most requested features since Overwatch 1 finally added to the game, that being map voting in both quick and competitive play. While the maps are still fairly randomly selected, you now have a choice between 3 different maps during a new pregame section of the match. And players can vote on which of these 3 maps they would like to go to. But to prevent it from being like an outright popularity contest, after all the votes have been cast, the game will then cycle through all the votes roulette style and then land on one vote at random to select the map. Obviously, maps with more votes, they have a higher chance of being picked, and if only one map gets all the votes, like it's just automatically picked. But even maps with just a single vote still have the chance of being chosen and played under this system. As time has gone on, I have noticed some toxicity around the system slowly creeping up in my matches. If a map with like fewer votes beats a map that's more popular, it has a lot more votes in the roulette spin, some players will kind of like start demanding that the person who voted for it to out themselves, to be like ridiculed and harassed for their map vote. I never have actually seen anyone out themselves, nor have I seen the hostility get to like a worrying degree. Like I've never seen anybody get super toxic, it's like throw a match or start like yelling out slurs or anything, but I have seen players getting upset when a map with 1 vote gets selected over a map with like 5 or 6 votes. Personally, it's never really bothered me because I like having the agency to increase the odds for my favorite maps, while also keeping it open to chance when my favorite maps may not align with some of the majority's favorite maps, right? So yeah, I think that was a pretty good addition to the game. And also, in a huge win for mental health, Blizzard also implemented a new emergency report category. So this category can be used to report players who use the in-game chat to talk about physically harming themselves or others. In theory, this can then be expedited to Blizzard support instead of like just, having it lost in the ether that maybe someday somebody gets to the ticket. This is allegedly supposed to be expedited very quickly to Blizzard support, who then look at it within a matter of, minutes or maybe hours, and then can then notify the proper authorities to respond if need be. Because of this, to prevent misuse for non-emergencies, Blizzard is also taking action on accounts of players who abuse this feature for those non-emergencies. Honestly, I've never had to use this or seen any cases where it may apply, but I am so happy it exists for those that desperately need some intervention to get the help they need and are using Overwatch as kind of like a cry for help, essentially, so players can actually provide that help with this emergency report category, which I think is great. The player endorsement system is now also reworked to be a bit more consequential. So now, instead of being solely based on, player endorsed equals good, player leaves / reported equals bad, there's a host of new features to make the system feel a bit more weighty and like a true representation of player sportsmanship. So for example, an endorsement on an enemy player after a crushing loss now carries a bonus endorsement score for that player. Also, to encourage players to use the system more for its intended purpose, players who rarely engage with endorsements and rarely endorse their teammates or whatever will tend to be ignored more when receiving endorsements, because they want players who don't engage with the system to be ignored by the system, essentially. They said this may lead to more volatility in endorsement ranks of players, but in all honesty, I think it might not be harsh enough. Like, I barely engage with endorsements because I'm still kind of stuck in that mindset of the system being fairly useless. I mean, occasionally, that's something I've brought over from Overwatch 1, but occasionally, I'll still endorse somebody if they play out of their minds or whatever, and I'm like, oh, that was really good, but I don't endorse people every match, like I've seen some players do. And even though I tend to ignore the system and have been ignoring the system mostly this whole time, I'm still rank 5. And if anything, I think the system needs more fine-tuning to be able to de-rank me and make me want to actually step outside my comfort zone and chase that rank 5 rating, and to be a more like positive player in the community, because I want rank 5 to be seen as like a pillar of the community. Somebody like, you know, you see that rank 5 portrait on somebody's gamer tag, you're thinking, whoa, okay, this guy's a really good, really nice player, really friendly player, really, like, you know, gets the team going. I'm glad to have this rank 5 on my team. And it's still kind of far too easy to obtain that, I think, and it thus makes the whole endorsement system still kind of a bit of a joke. So it is a step in the right direction. I'm happy they implemented it. I think it just needs a little bit more fine-tuning to make the endorsement system really consequential, to the point of, you know, making the rank 5s feel like, you know, the upper echelon of the player base. There's also been a new option added in streamer mode that replaces the copyrighted menu music that tends to come with the various collabs we got, such as like the Seraphim and stuff, or maybe some of the anime collabs, with the main Overwatch 2 theme, and that will prevent copyright claims happening on VODs. This is a little use to me because I stream with copyrighted music anyways. I have my Twitch VODs turned off, and I just do it through YouTube where their copyright system is a lot more forgiving. And I just have the in-game music muted usually. But for those that don't do this, for those who just play with the regular in-game music on, don't play any copyrighted music through their stream, this is a great option to have, I think, if you're trying to really avoid those copyright claims. And finally, for the quality of life updates, the play of the game algorithm has been tweaked a little bit to allow for more moments by supports that aren't just related to kills. Those can now be crucial saves, or very high healing bursts as well. They heal a lot for your team. Overall, I think this is a much needed change because the play of the game for a long time now has felt like you barely see some support heroes in it at all. It makes you wonder, question like why these heroes even have highlighted intros if, you know, if they're not going to get play of the game hardly ever. So this will hopefully help with that, and I'm glad to see it. So overall, the quality of life improvements for Season 17 are going to get a rating of a B. Moving over to the monetization and store items. So for this season, we got the Sophomore Louise Alari skin in the starter pack, which I do quite like. For me, though, it's barely qualifying as an epic, in my opinion. I think I've seen far more elaborate epic skins in some of these starter packs, but overall, it does look nice with the glasses and all the Overwatch Academy branding and stuff. It's fine. Unfortunately, though, the actual Overwatch Academy bundle itself, which included the Class President Soldier 76, Freshman Teo Ming Juno, Instructor Chase Sojourn, Instructor Oxton Tracer, and Sophomore Komori Kiriko, was extremely hit or miss. I'd say the only two halfway decent skins in there were maybe Kiriko's and Juno's. Tracer's was especially egregious because, and it kind of pissed me off, because it was just a recolor of her Overwatch Origins Edition skin from 2016. Now, I know some of the Overwatch Origins Edition skins have been a little bit more easy to obtain since the launch of Overwatch 2, but to so blatantly recolor a skin that was supposed to be very prestigious if you were like an OG Overwatch player, just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I didn't care to buy any of these. I do hope I can maybe pull the Kiriko or Juno from a loot box in the future, but I saw no need to buy them. I was actually, though, really glad to see the return of the Talon Mega Bundle from Season 10, that included Talon Tracer and Talon Zarya, as they were no longer available in Game Pass as of Season 14, so I did pick that one up. So I finally have them in my account now. Hooray, I don't need to worry about Game Pass anymore. I have them. Once again, though, the next Mega Bundle to hit the shop was once again incredibly disappointing. We got the 8-bit bundle to go with the theme of the season that included 8-bit skins for Bastion, Echo, Reaper, and Venture. The Bastion and Echo skins were literally just recolors of their Dune Buggy and Stealth skins, respectively, so those were kind of lame. But in all honesty, the Reaper skin wasn't really half bad. My only gripe with it was that the glitchy face that he has, which does look really cool, it's not animated, and in-game, it looks like it's just kind of like printed on a cloth, like that's just covering his face, because you see it like kind of shift and warp as he's like moving his head around, so that makes it a little, you know, little less cool in my opinion, but I wouldn't mind if I pulled it in a loot box, I suppose. However, the best skin in this bundle has to be the Venture skin. as it is one of Venture's first real, like, non-androgynous skins. Yes, the Masked Rose Venture skin from last season was kind of riffing on Tuxedo Mask, I get that, but I'd argue it was still kind of androgynous the way they did it. Now, you know, I know that Venture is non-binary, right, and they're not gender fluid, but as a gender fluid person myself, I would love to see Venture get both masculine and feminine looking skins to help me connect even more with that character, and I felt like this was a step in the right direction because it was kind of leaning more into that kind of like masculine look for Venture. Overall, the 8-bit Venture was my favorite in the set. I did buy it. Also, with the end of the OWCS Stage 2 and the OWCS Mid-Season Championship, we got another OWCS crowdfunding bundle, this time with Radiant Mercy. I did think this skin was pretty neat, but I don't think it was really worth buying, as Mercy has a lot better skins that I already own, so and I didn't really care to pick it up. There's also even better skins coming this season for Mercy that we'll get into, but along with OWCS Radiant Mercy, it was a surprise drop that we got the OWCS Partner Team skins. So these were recolors of the base skin for Venture, Ramatra, and Ana in the colors of all the OWCS partner teams, those being Crazy Raccoon, Virtus Pro, Zeta Division, Space Station Gaming, Team Liquid, Twisted Minds, Gen G, T1, and Team Falcons. Unfortunately, one of my favorite teams, Alcatsia, was not a partner team and therefore did not receive a bundle, but most of the big teams in the league did. So this bundle also came with a matching weapon charm, spray, and name card for each team if you really want to rep the branding. There were also some bundles for the Chinese teams, such as, once again, Rock Esports and Team CC. The only difference was that these ones just lacked the skins, it was just the other cosmetics in them. But this took me back to the glory days of the Overwatch League with all of those like Team Brandon skins back that they used to have for them. And I sincerely hope we do get more skins for more heroes as well for all of these teams and can really play out our fantasies and support our favorite teams in the OWCS. Initially, I just bought the Virtus Pro bundle because I like their branding and their colors, but after seeing Quartz and Twisted Minds absolutely demolish Crazy Raccoon in the OWCS Midseason Championship, I had to pick up their bundle as well, man. I'm so happy to see Overwatch Esports representation back in the shop. I hope it keeps expanding in the future. Finally, we got the Sakura bundle at the end of the season for Lifeweaver, Mercy, Ashe, and Wrecking Ball. They all look fairly decent, but I think Ball and especially Mercy's take the cake. I did end up buying Mercy's bundle, even though it was kind of overpriced. Like, I see that the Mercy tax is real now. And players were kind of making a meme out of it, too, because it launched in the shop with just a measly, like, 2% discount in the store. Like, wow, thanks, Blizzard, a whole 2% off. That's literally like 100 coins, thanks. So, yeah, it was kind of funny how they just did it 2% off. Like, come on. So the cosmetics this season were mostly held up in the latter half of the season, much like the collabs were. So I'm gonna give the cosmetics, the monetization store items. That's what it's called. Monetization store items. I'm gonna give that a rating of a B. So in conclusion, Season 17 Powered Up started out on really shaky ground with the theming and events that didn't really quite land as strongly as they could have. However, the second half of the season really picked up considerably, bringing much better content, stronger updates, and many more reasons to stay engaged. So while it wasn't a perfect season, it did find its footing over time and delivered enough highlights to feel somewhat worthwhile. That's why I'm going to give Season 17 an overall rating of a B. But that's going to do it for me here today. Remember, guys, if you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike, subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'm Passion, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Yeah.
Turn me on a couple on the screen, what you know about it. Get up and say hello to me, no one live without it. 20 flash a day.